What is going on, everybody? It's Alex coming back at you with another video. And today I'm going to be unveiling my dream fits for every position on the offense. So we're going to go by each different position. We're going to be able to break it down by their position as well as by their dream fits. I'm going to give you guys an explanation of why. And we're going to be going through a lot. So let's kick right into this. If you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. We're already over 4,600 subs, which is absolutely ridiculous. Since I was gonna be like, it's almost impossible to get to 4,500. It was supposed to be 4,000 by draft day, and we still have a good amount of time before that. So thank you guys for making that possible. This was actually kind of sponsored by, not sponsored, but this idea was generated with that franchise guy talking about dream fits for every position. So let's kick right into the video talking about the quarterback position. So you got Malik Willis, and that rank right there is where they are on my big board at this moment. Of course, everything is subject to change, but given the rating right now, Malik Willis is a very unique prospect. So he has easily the highest ceiling in the class, and there are quite a few teams that he could work really well with, but at this moment, it like just not feel perfect to put him up with the Cinderella story and just bring him to Mike Tomlin. I think that that's the perfect spot for him because he doesn't have to start right away. He's going to be inheriting a really damn good team and he has a really damn good coach. So I really do think that that is the dream fit for him. The Lions as well is another location. So I'll talk about them in combination with Sam Howell. The Lions are an organization that has extra picks to be able to throw at a position like quarterback, and it's a quarterback pretty much away from actually being able to compete in the NFC North. Sounds crazy to say that, but realistically, your offensive line's good, your running back's good, your wide receivers, maybe one more might make it good. You got DJ Shark in there, so if he's healthy, then that's gonna be great. But you still have a quarterback that was in the Super Bowl. And the defense needs a couple more pieces, and that's exactly what you're going to be addressing this draft. This team's not very far away, so you could actually try to build your future with the Lions right there. So definitely a possible route for you guys to go with that. Sam Howell is an amazing prospect, by the way. So another team that would be perfect for him to sit a year and be able to develop under a quarterback that is a little more risk averse. And I think that the Steelers, obviously, Mitchell Trubisky is going to be a little bit better with that mobility aspect of his game plan, especially after being trained with Brian Dable. But Sam Howell is just an absolutely underrated prospect. He's going to need some time to develop given his offensive scheme in college, but dude, he's still ridiculous. Super young as well, not even 22 years of age. Matt Corral is next, and a team that uses also, I mean, I say flash to Taylor Heineke. You could say also Mitchell Trubisky is a legitimate comp for Matt Corral. I think that a team like the Saints are pretty damn good at maximizing the potential of quarterbacks, even if they are not honestly that good. Taysom Hill. But, Matt Corral definitely is somebody. I mean, again, I'm a little bit of a homer for Matt. Obviously he did go to Oaks Christian, my high school quarterback. The dude he has an amazing leadership capability and he has a good enough arm. He has a good enough processor. He's in a little bit of a weird scheme with some really poor wide receivers. And if you guys want to see all my thoughts on these quarterbacks, I have a link in the description below to my website where I actually have in a nutshell scouting reports where you don't have to read for 20 minutes about a bunch of mumbo jumbo that you and the writer don't fully understand. I give you a 2 to 3 minute read on the good, the bad, and the ugly with the quarterback along with my grading scale to break them down. So feel free to check that out at the Hail Mary Sports website. But I mean, if you guys want to hear a little more in depth of what I'm talking about, that's where you're going to go. Kenny Pickett, people might be like, why the hell on earth would the Panthers be a dream fit for him? And one, honestly, because it's the only place that needs somebody right now that could honestly use him right now. And, the Falcons are a potential option, but like the Steelers, Kenny Pickett's not worth like kind of waiting a year on. I'm just gonna be straight up. If you're gonna do that, you might as well wait for Tyler Van Dyke the next year. And he's not somebody who's even gonna probably be a top 10 pick. And that's just how much I like Tyler Van Dyke. But Kenny Pickett is somebody where there's not very much upside at all. Solid enough arm, so it's requisite. Good mobility. solid enough processor. I think he's extremely overrated right there. Solid enough accuracy. Another place where he's overrated. Decision makings. So, there. The thing is, he's also old. He's older. I think it was his 5th year in college, redshirt senior, and he's nothing special. Like, I'm sorry, if you're gonna be a 6th round pick the year before, it's not like you're Joe Burrow where it's like, oh, you just started a year and there were some flashes and it was like, okay, and then you just totally took off. Like Kenny Pickett's been around for a hot minute now, and he's been playing for a hot minute. I think a team like the Panthers that could utilize his high floor is going to be probably the best case scenario. Then we got Desmond Ridder. Yeah, I think the team like the Falcons can totally maximize that. Marcus Mariota, obviously a very toolsy guy himself. Desi definitely has the ability to be moving up the board, as well as more tape is studied on him postseason, because I was not a fan of him in the regular season. Carson Strong, obviously, I think that a team like the Colts that actually took Jacob Eason before would be a pretty damn good location for him. Bailey Zappi, that super high floor, good enough arm quarterback. It makes sense in Tennessee. Caleb Allaby. So, we talk about Brock Purdy here as well. I just think that if you're willing to take a shot on somebody in the mid rounds and you don't want to get someone like Desmond Ridder, go for it. His layering ability is almost second to none in the class. It's a very high NFL level type of passer. He actually graded out as my quarterback 6, and you guys can check out that video as well. It's already on my channel. Caleb Allaby, I don't really have an exact reason why the Patriots, but he's a guy who's all right. And I think that his super high floor, because in terms of his accuracy over the middle, would be solid to have as a backup. And I think the Patriots would be a good fit. Jack Cohn, just having a super high floor dude to command an offense if need be, feels very Alex Smithy. Let's make this a little bit faster. Running backs, Breece Hall. It's a place where he could potentially be an RB1, or he doesn't have to be a pure goal line back. The Bills and the Cardinals, the two spots where I would feel the most comfortable there. Losing Chase Edmonds and then just simply not having anybody good enough. For the Bills, Kenny Walker going to another place. The Texans could apply to Breece Hall as well, but Kenny Walker definitely feels like a potential Texans 2nd-round pick. Not that early, but in case they want to trade back in the end of the 2nd round, it would be a good option for them there. Bills, again, it's less of a love as with Breece Hall, but that's okay. Again, that rank is going to change very soon. Isaiah Spiller, another guy who just seems like he can fit multiple roles, and having him in an RBBC with Michael Carter, to me, is one of the best things that you can do for him. So I hope that the Jets might be able to snack him in like round 4, maybe. James Cook's next, adding him to a running back room where he can actually play a very unique role is probably going to be what's best for him in the long run. Dameon Pierce is a very similar way. I feel like you can use him very similar to Latavius Murray. Pierre Strong Jr., that 4.37 speed speaks for itself, man. And he was an absolute home run hitter there in South Dakota State. I think a team that uses the Shanahan offense, specifically the 49ers, could definitely make the most of that. Ty Chandler using a good scat back type system right there with a team that doesn't really have one in Green Bay would be excellent value, maybe UDFA or in the 7th round. Brian Robinson, day 1 running back. In case of injury, he's definitely going to be able to pick it up, but definitely not someone that you want there past first contract. And Abram Smith, I just love him to death. When in doubt, send a good running back to New England. Now let's talk about some wide receivers. I even had to move everything up because I wanted to make sure we added Christian Watson in here. You got Garrett Wilson. You can fit him anywhere. I'm just going to be straight up. He's super versatile, played at an elite level in the slot as well as on the boundary. And he has good enough size, amazing athleticism, and he graded out perfectly. Really big fan of what Garrett Wilson brings to the table. Drake London, again, he has that slot / boundary versatility. He brings like the most elite hands of the class. So PFF did this. They were like talking about JJ Arcega-Whiteside to Mike Evans as a scale of these big dudes where in terms of their separation per route run. And Drake London lines up in the middle of that because Mike Evans was a very rare breed that he could pretty much be a super fluid route runner. But Drake London can do it at a good enough level. So definitely has the ability to be a wide receiver 1 and continue to improve. Jahan Dotson, he's my wide receiver 3, and I could not imagine a better place for him than the Chiefs. not the Chiefs. I mean, Chiefs are an option for sure, but the Patriots, I just don't think it's going to happen. Treylon Burks, being able to be used in a very unique way after the catch, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands is probably the best way for him to succeed. Kansas City already brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, but for one, I honestly don't care. But for two, I think that Treylon Burks plays a much different game than Juju. And I would love to just see him in the short game being able to truck dudes over at his heavy weight. There's just a lot of potential for him to be used over there in Kansas City. They apparently have been just trying to get as much height as possible in that boundary, which is very unique for a team that was so close to the Super Bowl to try to totally revamp their style. And Green Bay, MVS is gone, but Treylon Burks definitely has that deep speed ability. And if you have a quarterback that can throw it 70 yards, there's a good chance Treylon Burks is going to be open down the field. Alec Pierce, I think a team that might be looking for a wide receiver too, certainly could be looking for that. And that is perfect for him in the second or third round for the Saints. Sky Moore, I just love his ability to replace T.Y. Hilton, super dynamic route runner, just a big fan of him overall. Chris Olave. So you guys might be wondering why Olave and Williams are so low. I just don't think they can be wide receiver ones. I think they can produce like a one, but you need a wide receiver one style of receiver there. So yeah, Chris Olave's never been a one, so putting him on a team like the Saints or Chargers where he doesn't need to be, there you go. His value is a lot better than 35. And then same thing for Jameson. I even put the Chiefs in there because it's the freaking Chiefs, right? Like, it's an amazing fit. Then you got Jalen Tolbert, the guy who was like kind of the guy to put some interesting touches on this. He used to be actually higher than Olave and Williams, but I did not want to go that crazy. But a team like the Jaguars, so you can use him like a DJ Shark role. It's probably the best thing for you. George Pickens, honestly, I have a feeling this also has the Falcons in there. It does not, but the Falcons can definitely use him as a wide receiver one profile. But regardless, Packers and Bears could certainly use that wide receiver one profile as well. Larger wide receiver definitely has the prototype of an X. I love it. And Christian Watson. I mean, I just think of how you see Justin Fields throw that like 60-yard deep ball to Olave in versus Clemson at the end of his career there. And I'm just like, oh my God, can you imagine if that guy's 6'5"? And there you go. You got Christian Watson, right? And then you got the Niners because, it's Trey. It's his former wide receiver. So it's a fun fit. Tight ends, I'm not going to talk too much about these guys. Trey McBride, best one in the class, and a team that Robert Tonyan's only signed to 1 year for is probably a good spot for him to be a potential tight end one. Jelani Woods, where Jack Doyle just retired, not a bad spot for him, and Mo Alley Cox, as well as Kylan Granson to put a three-headed approach. Greg Dulcich, again, on a team that just lost Noah Fant. He'd be a really damn good addition for Russell Wilson. Jake Ferguson, you're getting a day one impact. I think a team like the Texans could really use that. Likely, I've been saying him to the Jags for a while now. Still think that's a possibility. Mitchell, having him back up Dawson Knox, not too shabby. Grant Calcaterra, I mean, you're putting him behind Austin Hooper. I would love that. And Rooker, I've been doing this for a while, to the Giants. I used to do it in the second round when the hype was there. Hype's died out a bit. Now let's talk about some offensive tackles. So Evan Neal is my number 2 player in the class. Was number 1 for a long time until you guys get to see who my number 1 is next video. But Evan Neal is an absolute stud. I think that any team that can use him left or right tackle should try to move up for him. I really do. That guy is going to be your franchise tackle for a billion years. And I don't think anybody's shaming the Texans for going out and getting Laramie Tunsil, apart from the fact that they just sucked everywhere else. And if Deshaun Watson were healthy or not healthy, if he weren't being accused of a bunch of stuff and like sitting out, there's a good chance that like the return on the investment for the Dolphins would not have been as good as I mean, obviously, to be 100% fair, that's not applicable because the picks were during Deshaun Watson's time, but there was a possibility for the picks to be a lot less valuable than they were. And honestly, the Dolphins didn't do much of them anyways. So yeah, oof. But I still think that going after someone like Evan Neal to be your franchise is more than worth anything that you could be giving up in this draft. Charles Cross, you got some amazing teams that could definitely use him as a versatile pass protector. You do have some teams that are looking for that day one impact. 2 of those teams being right tackles, so it's going to be a little bit iffy, but again, it's worth it because you see that drop off. Same thing with Icky. Icky has the most potential out of any of the dudes in the class. So you want to put Icky up high, you do you. Honestly, Icky's a stud. So again, I just think that there are some concerns with him potentially having to move into guard. Can't put him as my tackle one that way. Nicholas Petit Ferrer. So I actually have, so I fucked up on the graphics work here. It's the Colts and the Broncos, both of them looking at a left or right tackle to come in day one. He has that Big Ten experience, had a little bit of a rough patch this year, but the guy is overall a pretty damn polished protector as long as he gets more consistent. Bernard Ryman going to the Seahawks or Colts, that'd be absolutely amazing. It's a spot where the expectations aren't very high for a very raw player, and it's still a spot where he can make an impact and grow. At 63, this is a guy who I'm a lot lower on, Trevor Penning. So I think that maybe a good culture setter would be a good spot for him to grow, like the Patriots. But two spots I think he could sit and develop are the Jaguars, where you have Cam Robinson on a 1-year deal and he can grow with Jawan Taylor and Walker Little, or the Jets, where you have Fant there who could be a really good mentor. And if you can get him early second, that's going to be an absolute dream for a guy like Joe Douglas. Abraham Lucas, you're getting that day one starting 320-pound, extremely athletic right tackle, just not very much upside in his technical skills. Lele, I mean, when in doubt, just stick him on a team that has already been able to develop talent like that. Is this the Chargers I have? Oh, the Ravens. Okay. I was confused. It's been a hot minute since I made this, but yeah, Ravens, definitely you have time to develop him. Same thing with the Eagles, same thing with the Patriots. And obviously the Eagles have that Jordan Mailata story. So, you guys are the best at developing offensive line talent so far. Darian Kennard, another guy who's going to be probably a pure right tackle. Two teams that can try to spend time to develop it are, of course, Broncos and the Ravens. And Kellen Diesch, if you're getting desperate and trying to get somebody who can come and start in your roster or having some really good depth, that is where the bread and butter is going to be. So let's click on to the next slide. We got interior offensive lineman, Tyler Linderbaum. We'll go with Tyler Smith next. I think that, you can use him as an heir to the throne of the Kelsey, one of the best centers of all time. That'd be a good spot for him. Of course, New York Giants, Feliciano's projected to be center. Who cares? And Ted Karras, again, who cares? Both these guys are probably going to be backup level talents, just good enough to be able to plug a hole in the short term. Tyler Smith. So I'm looking at a place that either is desperate for a left tackle or is going to be a place where you can play guard, and then we'll be moving to tackle eventually. So all those fit. Kenyon Green is a very similar story, but I think this athleticism is a little bit lower than Tyler Smith overall. I think Kenyon Green does offer a very high ceiling, especially at left tackle, but I mean, it's really, you're going to be throwing a dart with a blindfold on, trying to hit a freaking bullseye with Kenyon Green, solely because he's played so many places at this point, and it's just, you don't know where you're going to have to plug him in. And for even a team like Green Bay, right guard's probably the spot where he would fill in immediately. It's the one spot I hate him the most. So it's a weird spot. I don't know about it. Zion Johnson, I mean, being able to fill in at that guard role / center for both the Patriots and the Cards is, I mean, I don't need to explain why those teams need a guard. Sean Ryan, very similar situation. Bears lost James Daniels. He's going to be there in the second round. Definitely think that he can also fill in a tackle with with some injuries during the season. Sawyer, I mean, super versatile. You guys know that at this point, can play guard, can play tackle. Ed Ingram's going to be a nasty blocker in the run game. I think a team like the Chargers could be looking for that for their right guard sitch. And then Cole Strange, he's going to be very unique center out of Chattanooga, but a team like the Ravens, who are probably going to fill it like with Macari this season, could certainly use him in the long run. Athair Mumford, again, a team that's looking for a day one impact at guard for cheap. Sign me up. And again, he's played tackle. He's just not athletic enough. Last but not least, Dylan Parham. I'm a lot lower on him than most people. It's weird to know that a guy put on like 30 pounds really quickly and then somehow looks good. I'm far from saying he can't be, but a team like the Niners where you have Alex Mack, that's going to be a great place for him to kind of get used to his body. So that is going to be the video, everybody. I hope you guys did enjoy. Of course, like, comment, subscribe, do your thing. See you on the far side. Peace.